when things started to not work, there was a part of me that was anchored to the belief, because you've failed before, you're going to do it again. And so this season, these 3 months of going backwards have really made me excavate the part of me that has been angry and upset and disappointed and frustrated and shamed, and really sit with those feelings of not good enough.
Welcome to Unmasked Founders with Lezly Kaye. This is the podcast that goes beyond the highlight reel of entrepreneurship. Instead of focusing on the accolades and achievements, this show explores the real moments that shape founders, the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the lessons that transform both the business and the human behind it. Hosted by me, Lezly Kaye, an entrepreneur who has built empires and discovered the cost of success. Unmasked Founders is a space for honest conversations about growth, resilience, and staying true to who you are. Whether listeners are just starting out or scaling to the next level, this is where real stories are told. Welcome to Unmasked Founders, a conversation with me, Lezly Kaye.
Okay, guys. I have some notes here and some questions I'm going to ask myself, because I want to keep this as raw and authentic and really hit the marks of the depth of what this experience has taught me. I'm going to try walk you all through some of the thought processes, some of the belief systems, some of the shame and pain that I felt in the true essence of Unmasked Founders. I knew when I created this podcast that there was going to be times where I was going to, I guess, in essence, what feels like expose myself inside of these conversations. And my intent behind that is to really show that not everything on social media, and I'm as truthful and raw and honest as I can be online, but I think in a world where there is so much optics and so much pressure put on perfection and so many conversations around success, I really wanted to bring you Unmasked Founders to give you context to the conversations that I wish were available to me in the moments where I felt like I didn't want to keep going. And perhaps because I birthed this podcast, I found myself in a moment like this over the past couple of months, and I really wanted to bring conversation to it. I didn't want to speak to it whilst I was in it. And yeah, I think there's so much that can be learned and experienced, and I guess this sense of I'm not alone. Yeah, I didn't want to share it when I was in it, because I don't know, it's like it would have felt like performed vulnerability almost, and I really wanted to sit with what I was making it mean about myself, what I was really feeling about the situation, what the lessons were on the other side. Oof. Not hitting 7 figures, what did it actually bring up for me emotionally beyond the numbers itself? Honestly, I felt like a failure. I felt like a fraud in some sense. I mean, I've scaled 8-figure companies, 7-figure companies. I've hit 7 figures in these businesses in the past. And I guess there's been a lot of identity in that. There's been a lot of ego, and not in an overt way, but more the way in which I protect myself by holding on to this identity of success. And my biggest, I guess, not even shadow, just this part of me that doesn't want to fail, and the fear of failure that I have, and almost fighting against not hitting 7 figures for the past couple of months has truly been exhausting. And yeah, it's almost like the one thing I wanted to avoid, because I'd hung my identity on it, is exactly what happened, so that identity could be stripped away. And it's really had me assess where I don't feel worthy if I'm not a 7-figure earner, and where I've been hiding parts of myself, I guess, and and feeling out of alignment and out of integrity and sharing all of my wins when in the moment when I was sharing the wins, I felt like a failure. And I've really had to anchor into, just because I'm having a hard month doesn't mean it takes away from my entire year and my entire years of success. And this is one thing that I want to impress upon you all today. And I say this to my 7-year-old all the time. Just because you're having a bad moment, if he's sad or upset or angry, he will say, "This is the worst day ever." And I say to him, "Buddy, it's not the worst day. This is just one moment out of an entire day, and it doesn't make the whole day bad." And so what I've really had to reparent myself in is a few bad months doesn't mean I'm a bad leader, doesn't mean I'm a bad mentor or coach, doesn't mean I'm a bad business owner, doesn't mean I'm failing. It means that I'm in a moment that's asking more of me. And am I going to rise to meet that, or collapse and fall and let the little voice that wants to tell me that I'm not good enough win in these moments? Yeah, I want to speak to the moments where I wanted to give up. And I've been an entrepreneur for 6 years, and I've had a business failure in that time. So, and I say failure, I don't actually believe in failure, it's all lessons. But I'm coming to talking to the part of me that is fearful of that. So clearly there's a part of me that believes in failure. But when things started to not work, there was a part of me that was anchored to the belief, because you've failed before, you're going to do it again. And so this season, these 3 months of going backwards have really made me excavate the part of me that has been angry and upset and disappointed and frustrated and shamed, and really sit with those feelings of not good enough. I was saying to my partner and some friends, I've taken a bunch of plant medicine in my time, and right now my whole life feels like an ayahuasca trip, because I'm constantly being asked to love deeper parts of me, find deeper parts of me. And I do believe that my relationship with my fiance has a lot to do with that, because I've never felt as safe as I do now. And they often say that when you start to feel this deep sense of safety and being held and cared for, it can surface parts of you that have been suppressed. And I've done lots of work, and the work is never ending. But I feel like I was working with the surface of some of these belief systems before, and now that I have a deeper sense of safety within myself and within my relationship, it's like the deeper stuff is coming to the surface for me to process and sit with and be okay with. I was fearful of reputation, but it's really been weighing on me these past couple of months, the mask actually. And given that my podcast is called Unmasked, I really wanted to share that it's not always up and up and up and up and up and everything going well, that sometimes there's seasons of, why isn't this working? What am I doing wrong? What am I not understanding? And for me, it was marketing. When I shared this with my community on my socials, it was actually about 8 months ago now, I was working with a marketing agency, and we had some wins, and then it just stopped working, and then they couldn't get it back working. And then previously I was consistently getting all of my leads and clients from ads, and then it's like that tap turned off overnight. And then we swapped agencies, and for 6 months I worked with another agency, and we even got into my messaging and my offer, and we redid everything, and we really solidified, and we started to run ads. And again, nothing worked for 6 months. So I really had almost 12 months of no consistency in my paid marketing, and probably a bit of a disconnect in my organic. So yeah, it's really wobbled my foundations. It's like I felt like I landed in this place where um, I was signing all of these clients and everything was working well, and my whole ecosystem was working, my sales, my marketing, my close rate, my delivery, and then it all just fell apart. And yeah, inside of that, it rocked my belief systems. And all the while, I have amazing clients, hitting 7 figures in their business, doing amazing things, restoring their relationships, doing the inner work, building the foundations of the worlds that they're creating and the lives they're impacting. And yeah, I was hiding this struggle, this uncertainty in me ever figuring out how to get my marketing right again. And so I've spent the past couple of months really forcing myself to learn paid ads, to learn marketing on a deeper level. It's stretched me. It's really, really pushed my limits. It doesn't come naturally to me, but I'm also very determined to move through the resistance and get the outcomes that I'm looking for. Yeah, I've cried more than once. I've contemplated getting a job because I was like, I'm never going to be able to figure out marketing. And unless I can do that, I'm not going to be able to rebuild my business. So I have 2 businesses. I have my coaching business and the agency. On the flip side, the agency is growing consistently. We have great clients. I can see the momentum in that business. I do a lot of referral marketing and networking for the agency business, and that is solid, consistent, constantly growing. However, there's a part of me that feels like it's not enough and it's not growing fast enough. And so this past couple of months, the back end of 2025, has really stripped me back to allowing myself to be enough, to knowing that I can still show up and lead whilst I feel like parts of my world aren't working. It is learning that leadership isn't perfection, and leadership is how you hold yourself in the storms. It's how you show up for the people in your world, even when you feel like you just want to give up. And so it has really reinforced my capacity to lead not only myself, but my clients, because I'm no longer leading from a place of naivety in that everything is always going to be perfect, and it's giving me more capacity to navigate storms. So the integrity piece, why does integrity matter more to me than pretending everything is always growing? Yeah, I really sat with this for some time actually, and as I pointed out, that there's a lot of identity in being a 7-figure earner when that's what you help your clients do. So when I started to notice the numbers go backwards, yeah, I didn't really want to speak to it. I feel like part of me wanted to wait for the comeback story, wanted to wait until my marketing was 100% and I was back in multi-6-figure months. And that's just not the reality. And when I was reflecting on the type of leader I want to be going into next year and, my wrap up for the year, I really wanted to shed the light on self-leadership through uncertainty and self-leadership through speaking to what a lot of people are afraid to speak to, and actually giving those that might be in a season of consolidation the permission to know that a bad month, a bad 6 months, a bad moment doesn't define your entire career. It doesn't define your capacity as a leader, and it doesn't define your ability to lead yourself through those moments with integrity. What was the moment I realized something wasn't working anymore and I couldn't ignore it? Yeah, I started to have clients finish with no one in my pipeline. And I've signed a few clients in the past few months, but when you're used to signing 5 to 10 people at a time, 1 to 2 really started to play with my belief and my confidence and this image that I wanted to uphold of success. And again, I also want to reframe this for myself and anyone listening. Momentum is success. Multi-six figures is success. It's the part of me that was fearful of judgment, was fearful of not being the embodiment of what I help people with. The stories my mind started telling me during the months where things slowed down. Oh yeah, comparison was huge. Yeah, comparison, doubting myself, wondering if I was really cut out for this. Yeah, genuinely, this month I actually got on to Seek and I was like, I wonder if I could actually go back and get a job. And I haven't done that in 6 years. I couldn't go back and get a job. And yeah, I'm just doubling down on being in service to those that need support to grow their business. So yeah, it's so interesting because even in the waves of doubt, even in the fear, even in the recalibration, even in the disappointment in myself, even in the fear, there's always been this voice. And I say this to the women in my world, give yourself space to feel. So I'll give myself 24 hours to scream, cry, throw a tantrum, feel what I'm actually feeling. Rage has been a big one that has come up for me. Anger, that it's so hard. Anger that I haven't been able to figure it out. Anger that all the ways in which it felt unfair. And I give myself that space and I feel what I'm feeling. And then even in those moments where I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to get a job or I can't do this anymore, there's always been this little voice that it's like, I know we can do this. And you can't give up, because what about all the women that feel the same? What about all the women that are sitting at 6 figures, that want 7-figure years, that feel like they're never going to get there too? What about that little girl inside of you that doesn't want you to give up on her and doesn't want you to give up on her hopes and dreams and doesn't want you to let this setback be your give up story? And so this was one of the motivators to sharing this so vulnerably and so openly, because Unmasked Founders was born from the moments where I wanted to give up, and I wanted to share inside of those moments that I want to say this too shall pass, but that feels very dismissive of the real truth behind what level of resilience we need as women in business. And when I first heard this stat that less than 2% of women ever hit 7 figures and have done it 4 times, I made that my mission to help women get there. Now my mission is to help them hold it. But if I gave up, if I stopped, if I didn't share this story, if I stopped supporting women to grow, then that's one less person in the world helping women move towards their goals. And I want to see a world of well-rested, well-resourced women at the helm of big businesses of purpose. Women are more purposeful with their money. Women share with communities with their money. Women are more heart-led when they lead. I love men. I'm not saying men about it, any of that, but I think we are so conditioned to compromise. I mean, really, we're sacrificing as women. And a part of my work in this world is to remind women we don't have to sacrifice what we want, and that we can have the big life, the big business, the man that holds us, the children that love us, this sense of having it all. And so rather than let this moment define me, I'm letting it shape more of the leader I'm becoming and invite more of the women that are ready to grow into the version of them that doesn't hang their value on success, that doesn't need external validation, that are also not willing to settle for less than they know is possible in their worlds. It's for the woman who knows that she is born through the fire of her becoming, and for the woman who doesn't want to feel so alone in it, who wants a community of women that understand the complexities of being a woman in business and the depth that's available to us in that journey. Where did I feel the pressure to perform success, even when things felt shaky behind the scenes? Honestly, this has been the balance for me in becoming more visible, in building a personal brand, in sharing more of my story, in having the podcast. And I never outwardly lied. However, I noticed the moments where I didn't expose the full truth. And again, some of this came from wanting to be on the other side of it, probably a bit of hope that maybe it was just a 1 month thing or a 2 month thing and things were going to turn around and I was going to figure out my marketing that quickly and make it work. And I think the deeper I got into it, the more I realized that this season wasn't a short season and it wasn't a month blip. It was a lesson that I really needed to be with and sit with. And
quick pause. Are these conversations resonating with you? Do you finally feel seen in your business journey? This is the entire mission of Unmasked Founders. To strip back the highlight reel and tell the raw truth about multi, 6 and 7-figure success. We're here for the emotional costs, the days you want to quit, and the breakthroughs that follow. And we can bring you these essential conversations thanks to the support of our incredible partners, Cacao Collective and the OE Agency. These are the businesses who empower founders to keep going, providing the systems and the professional polish you need when you're busy navigating the emotional storm. If you love what you're hearing, don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button right now and check out Cacao Collective and the OE Agency in the show notes. Now, let's get back to it.
I realized that omission was actually still lying in essence. So yeah, I've been sitting with the lessons and the leadership that I'm being asked to stand in and embody as we move into the next season. Yeah, what were the moments I genuinely questioned myself as a leader this year? I've touched on this briefly, but the moments where I was helping my clients smash, 7 figures, multi 7 figures. I had one of my clients, we recorded a podcast recently, actually, it hasn't been released yet. Yes, and she came to me a year ago or thereabouts, and she was actually in the season that I'm in now. And it's so interesting because she had made moments. She had made some decisions that probably weren't aligned with her business growth and her life. And she was really allowing those moments to define her whole career as a leader. And I forgot this conversation, and we actually recorded a podcast a few weeks ago. And in that podcast, and we'll share it soon, she said to me, "Lezly, you really helped me believe in myself as a leader again, because you made me realize that bad moments don't define my whole experience." And I really helped her reframe and reshape her belief in herself as a leader. And it was in that moment that I was like, wow, I'm really letting this moment shape my whole belief system around my capacity to lead. So yeah, it's again why we need strong women around us when we're growing, because that reflection, that reminder of our power in the macro, in the bigger picture, sometimes we can get so consumed in the micro moment of right now I feel like failing, and we start to filter for evidence of failure rather than the reality of success and the reality of resilience and the reality of not giving up when the world feels really heavy. What feels the hardest to admit, even privately, about this season? I felt really alone in it. Besides my partner. And again, it just reinforces the spaces I want to create for women in business that need a place to come undone, that need a judgment-free zone to really allow their experience to be felt and to be alchemized. Because if it wasn't for my partner, I probably would have gone mad, probably definitely would have applied for a job. I hadn't really experienced, oftentimes there is a level of performance in group coaching because we're so afraid of the judgment from other people. And this has been my experience. This has been the experience of women that I've spoken to. And I really, 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 in all of my spaces over all of the years, it's like, bring the truth of what you're feeling right now and bring the raw expression and experience. Even in all of my business coaching, I have support coaches and I take people through processes too, where there's space for the emotion, there's space for the raw expression of what people are feeling to have somewhere to be seen and felt and alchemized. And the hardest to admit is I felt alone and I didn't know where was safe. And also in some of the bigger containers I'm in, I felt like it wasn't safe enough because, maybe the coach that I'm coaching with has the capacity for integrity and like delicacy and to not share my experience. But when you're on a call with 50 other people, there's no, there's less, not no, because this is my projection, there's less psychological safety in actually, I'm having a hard time. And also, the women themselves that I coach with that lead these programs have been generous of time, have been generous of spirit, have really allowed me to lean on them and to help guide me, have helped me with ads training, have helped me with ads, have helped me with all the ways in which I help others, the making me remember my belief in myself and to really zoom out and see the bigger picture and not to focus on the moments that were feeling hard. Yeah. What did I want to outsource or avoid looking at because it felt overwhelming or frustrating? My numbers. I really didn't want to look at my budget and my cash flow and my obligations and the commitments I made at multi-six-figure months versus the commitments that I had now. I didn't want to look at cutbacks I had to make in my team. I didn't want to look at all the ways in which I was making this season mean that I was failing. And in the beginning, there was a lot of avoidance, which actually caused more pain. And it really solidified time and time again that you really need to know your numbers as an entrepreneur and you really need to be willing to make the difficult decisions in order for sustainable success and not making it mean anything. A lean season is great. And in fact, one thing that I'm grateful this season has taught me is I can do a lot more with less. And there was probably a lot of throwing money at problems versus finding a cost-effective lean solution because I thought I didn't have time. But the funny thing about having less resources is you find the time. And that has been one blessing in this season. What did this season teach me about delegation versus responsibility as a leader? Yeah, I speak to this often. You can't really delegate what you don't understand. I mean, you can pay money to have your problems go away. But this has just shown me that the more I pay to have my problems go away that I don't understand myself, the less, it's not even control, it's like quality assurance. It's, people telling me they can solve a problem when they really can't, but because I don't know enough about the problem myself, there's a blind trust. People that market themselves as experts that are really just doing the same thing that I'm doing as I'm learning and throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks. And it's really, really made it evident to me that knowledge is power. And for a period of time in my business, I've been powerless. Why do I believe leaders must understand the pillars of their business, even if they don't execute them long term? For this exact reason. I was giving away my power. I was giving away thousands of dollars to people who told me they were experts, who were also figuring it out as they went, because there's been so many changes to Meta, so many changes to paid ads, so many changes to consumer psychology, that I was asking them to take away a problem that they also couldn't take away, because it's not their market, it's not their clients, they don't understand the people that I'm talking to. And honestly, I had calls with this one agency almost weekly, getting into buyer psychology, getting into my ideal client, giving them all of this information, and still it wasn't hitting the mark because I was giving them my power. Now, I will outsource my marketing again once I understand it myself and once I find out what works. And all I'm going to give away is the management of the technical side, not the creativity, because that has to come from me, because it's my business and nobody knows my clients like I do. How does learning ads myself change the way I see leadership, control, and mastery? I'm not going to become a marketing agency, but it's made me realize that almost part of the reason that I'm doing this podcast episode, because there's so many smoke and mirrors, there's so much illusion, there's so much omission of truth, and I've been guilty of it. And I don't want that to be the foundation that I rebuild from. I don't want to hide the last 6 months and, start making multi-six-figure months again next year and pretend like it didn't happen. I really wanted to lift the lid on the radical honesty, the radical responsibility, what it truly takes to be self-led in an industry that sometimes isn't. How did my faith or belief system support me when logic alone wasn't enough? Yeah, I think we have to believe in something greater than ourselves. Both in mission, in that when I started this business 6 years ago, after traveling and closing my recruitment businesses and all the things, I had this moment of, okay, so what am I here to do? Who am I here to serve? And really, it was to serve women in business so they stopped living half lives and accepting half love. A lot of what I do centers around building stronger relationships with yourself so you can lead your business better and actually have relationships that sustain you and not sacrifice love for money or money for love. And in these past couple of months where I felt like I've really been stripped back, in the moments where I haven't wanted to continue, where I haven't wanted to give up, there's constantly been God reminding me of the mission he placed on my heart, of what happens in a world where there's one less leader that wants to bring depth to growth, that wants to bring more than just strategy to women in business. So we stop producing robots and stop producing carbon copies and stop producing women that are disconnected and burnt out and that don't feel loved and don't feel supported and really only have their identity wrapped up inside of their success and inside of their business. So my faith has really allowed me to surrender and trust that everything is happening for me. Again, I side in that because it does sound so throwaway, but when you believe in something greater than yourself, it's like you have no choice. Something moves through you. It stops being about me and starts being about who I'm here to serve and why I need to show up in this authenticity, because it matters. And women need to hear that they're worthy even when they feel like nothing's working. What does God gives us what we need to hold for the next level actually look like in practice, not theory? Honestly, it looks like this. It looks like the conversations that you're afraid of. It looks like the breakdowns for breakthroughs. It looks like asking for help. It looks like knowing that this season is going to shape more of your leadership, not take it away from you. It looks like being vulnerable. It looks like admitting that more authenticity and more integrity wanted to come online. It looks like not having all of the answers and showing up anyway. Who did I have to become internally to stay present instead of giving up? Yeah, this has been a real identity shift for me. And one thing I will say is the deeper and deeper I get into this leadership and this work, and the more money I make and the more money I help other women make, identity is huge. Huge. And it's not even just mindset. Mindset doesn't almost cut the identity work that needs to happen to hold duality, to hold two truths at the same time. Like the truth is right now it sucks, and the truth is I'm successful. The truth is right now I'm in a season of reconciliation and I know how to grow big business. The truth is I'm allowed to be afraid and take action. And really anchoring to this knowing that both is possible and both is true, and really allowing the identity of who I'm becoming versus the story that maybe I want to make in the right now moment. Why doesn't this year invalidate my experience or expertise and how it has actually made me a better leader? Yeah, literally to the point I just made. There's this evidence I think that we search for sometimes, that because some people only show the growth and the up and the stories about success, and one day I was broke and the next day I was rich, I actually think my capacity to sit with what is true and to expose some of the conversations around the messy middle and to reinforce that it's a journey, not a destination. I really feel that more women need to hear that it's okay to not get it right. It's okay to feel like a failure. It's okay to have imposter syndrome. But what defines leadership is not giving up in those moments, to allow what we need to feel, but to speak to it, to lead from it, to lead through it, to use it to shape more truth, more depth to leadership, and to really give women permission to not be alone in the struggle, to not have to hide behind marketing and positioning, and to actually lead themselves through with a bit more grace and compassion and self-love. What can I now see in my clients that I couldn't see as clearly before this season? The silent struggles. It's allowed me to ask deeper questions. It's allowed me to really, really see and feel those that might feel like they're never going to break through, that feel like this story of struggle or burnout or feeling a lot of pressure is their forever story, and to know how to find them inside of that story, to break through the prison that they've built for themselves in their own mind, and to really be able to truly, in an embodied way, invite them into what's possible when they start to make different decisions. Because oftentimes we find ourselves in this place because we need to take more responsibility. We haven't had strong boundaries. We have people pleased. We have neglected our numbers. We have outsourced our power to marketing people, consultancies, sometimes even coaches. And I'm a big believer in self-responsible leaders. And this has just been another reminder of that. You know, I've worked with one lady that was paying a marketing agency $40,000 a month. That wasn't including ad spend. And when we got into this a little deeper, they weren't even doing half the things they told her they were doing. I've seen it time and time again, and I've experienced it in my clients. I've experienced it clearly now within myself. And this season has really allowed me to listen a little deeper, to hold women through the shame and embarrassment of feeling like their world looks pretty and perfect on the outside, but really there's a part of them that's crumbling on the inside. And it's not always money. It generally is cash flow or relationships. And relationships is the hidden one that a lot of women don't talk about. That my business is great, but my marriage is failing. And having these experiences allows me to share with you, the listeners, share with the women in my world that not every season is going to be easy, but it's the lessons we learn in the storms that allows us to come back stronger in the next season and to find those that are going to hold us through our evolutions. So the woman that's listening who feels like she's going backwards or feels like she's failing or feels like her business is great but her relationship isn't, or is in a season of self-doubt, stop making it mean something about you. We're such meaning-making machines as humans. We try to create all these stories and reinforce belief systems that don't serve us. So stop making it mean something. Just really be with one moment doesn't define your whole career. One moment doesn't define your capacity to support others. And it really doesn't need to be as painful, I think, as we let it be sometimes. Slowing down, recalibrating, or missing the numbers is a way that we're shown leadership maturity. I think we forget that sometimes. I've certainly forgotten it at times in this season, that it's how we lead in these moments. It's how we show up for our clients in these moments. It's how we step into authenticity in these moments. It's how the whole intention behind Unmasked Founders is to give women hope of what's possible when they keep believing, when they hold the faith, when they know that it's not the end of their story and they don't give up. And to my point before, less than 2% of women hit 7 figures. Most of the time it's because we give up. Most of the time it's because we feel alone. Most of the time it's because we're the wives and the mothers and the everything to everyone in our lives, and we're not making enough space for ourselves. We're not asking to be supported. And the weight of pressure and expectation and leadership and growth gets to us and we stop. And that could have very well been my story. That very well could have been the season where it felt like it wasn't working and I didn't want to keep going. And I can only imagine those of you listening that don't have the support systems that I do. And so I want to remind you that sometimes the reason our business feels heavy is because we're avoiding the tough conversations in our personal lives. And so if you're listening and maybe you're in a season where you're feeling like you're wearing a mask because you're wearing the mask of success, this raw, unfiltered, exposing episode is to really remind you that you're not alone, that there is people that can help you, that everything you want is on the other side of this moment of lack of self-belief. And start searching for evidence of what you have done and the success you have had and the people that you do help. And start to use it as an indicator as to where perhaps you have been out of alignment or integrity with your decisions and your actions. For me, actually, launching Unmasked Founders was one of the things I realized I'd been putting off for a very long time. And maybe because I would have to have this conversation, and for a while I wasn't ready. But having these conversations at the time that I had them has been one of the catalysts to remind me to zoom out, to remind me to stop focusing on the moment and start to gather the evidence of all the ways I've grown, all the ways that multi-six figures is an amazing result, all the ways in which I've helped multiple women hit 7 figures in their business, and me being in a season of recalibration doesn't take away from the years of experience and decades of making millions of dollars. So if you're listening and you need some support, you need someone to remind you of your power, please feel free to slide into my DMs on Instagram, send me a voice note. I will happily answer any questions, give you any guidance, add some more tips to my YouTube in ways in which you can grow and reconsolidate and support you to grow. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing me in this place and for using it to fuel your evolution. Much love.
Thank you for listening to Unmasked Founders with me, Lezly Kaye. Follow Lezly Kaye on social media for more insights, and we'll see you in the next episode. You can find me at Lezly with a Z, Kaye. Check the show notes for how to spell my name. Remember, true success is built from the inside out.